Sector 1 Firehouse. Go ahead. I'm on scene at 108 South 17th. We've got light smoke showing from a single-story commercial building. Working fire, make it a regular alarm. Engine 1 upon arrival. Let's see if we can get in. Let's see if there's an FBC in the back before we do anything here. That's right. I'll be establishing 17th Street command. Where's the alarm?
I don't know what I've been living on, but it's not enough to fill me up. I need more than just words to say. I need everything this life can give me. Hey, yeah. 'Cause sometimes it's not enough. Ow! Come on, baby. Close your eyes, let go. This can be everything we dreamed. It's not work that makes
Welcome back to Justifiably Proud Productions. I'm your humble host, Jim Farrell. Today is December 23rd, 2022, and I want to welcome all of our listeners back. This week, we're going to start a new series called Back in Quarters, and we've invited Ladder Truck Company to join us to talk about how they get through their day and their shift. From time to time, we'll reach out to different industries and see how other people handle the stresses of daily life in their particular occupation and see how they get through the day and get back into dealing with their family and stuff like that. So this week's episode, it was actually recorded back in November, but I finally figured out how to download the audio. I was having some issues with it, but we want to welcome the Truckies from the 5600 block, and let's listen in and see what words of wisdom they have from their natural habitat. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Justifiably Proud Productions. Today, I'm honored to be joined by a couple Truckies here at the show. These two gentlemen, one of them is a lieutenant on the truck company, and the other one's a driver. And many different departments have different titles for their units, but these particular gentlemen operate off a ladder truck, and that's why we call them Truckies. Thank you, Lieutenant Eric Ramirez. Thanks for joining us today, and driver Mike Serta. Glad you could be here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
So talk to me about your company. Tell me how many people are assigned to it, what kind of truck you ride on. Give me all the ins and outs.
Well, currently we have 4 people assigned to the truck. It's we have 2 firefighters, the driver Serra and myself as the lieutenant. We're on a Pierce. It's a mid-mount. We just received it last May. It's got a bucket on it. It's 100 feet, fully extended. It has all the bells and whistles of sensors, and it's actually surprised me on how functional and how quick you can set it up and operate it. But
is that mine too?
Yeah, Amber Alert. We've had some fun in it already. We got to do some good training with it. We had some good calls, but just waiting for it to come back.
Cool. So now at your house, you guys have another unit assigned with you, or are you a single company station, or?
We have another unit. We have an engine company that also has 4 personnel assigned to it. So at any given day, we can have 6 to 8 people at our station.
At your station?
Yeah.
So I know coming up through the ranks and stuff and spending a lot of time in the firehouse, it can be a little challenging being there with so many people stuck in a small space for a period of time. What do you guys do to manage your day to I'm sure you have the daily duties and stuff, but tell me about Lieutenant, how your typical day goes without any major incidents. What do y'all do to pass the time?
I do my best to try to keep the guys busy, to become better firefighters and to work better as a crew. And I don't say that in any type of cliche way or anything. It's exhausting, actually, to try to come up with ways to keep your guys engaged. So a typical day is we do the morning checks on the units, make sure everything's running smoothly. We have all our equipment. So I usually stay outside to assist and monitor and make sure that they're checking everything. Then we have breakfast. Then when the morning comes, we usually try to do something in the morning or in the afternoon in terms of training. And it's not always physically demanding. Sometimes it's just learning new things, techniques, or streets, things like that, medical stuff. And around lunch, most of us will run a mile and a half. We like to stay physically active there at 5. And then in the afternoon, early evening, we'll work out. We eat dinner together. We cook there at the station. And then that's when most of these guys will start to watch a movie or the game. And then I just kind of go hide in my room. But we try to just stay active outside as much as possible. The more active you stay, I think the less drama that you can get from the little bickering that can happen inside.
Sure. Now, Mike, talk to me about how do you view your day going through? Starting off, is there anything in particular you need to do as a driver for your company?
Well, yeah, our daily checks. Lately, it's been checking a different truck almost every other shift because we've been on our new truck and then a reserve truck, and so you can't get complacent because something else might be missing or wrong with the new truck that you have, and so every day it's just about getting your hands dirty. One of the habits I like to have on the truck company is set it up every day. I like to hear its quirks in the morning, early in the morning, right? If we hear it making weird noises, is that something normal or not? Just to get familiar with the equipment so it doesn't surprise us when we're at an actual call, right? And then just going through the motions of getting comfortable with the truck, setting it up different ways, and then getting the guys involved too, right? That sometimes those early morning checks set the lights off on someone, whether it's one of the firefighters that wants to do some setting up the ground ladders or work off the truck, off the ladder, or Eric that wants to do something, some sort of training to get comfortable with it and to play with it, because obviously our call volume is not as high as other cities. So training and staying active is really important. It like Eric mentioned, it's exhausting, right, to just stay active, and it's a really good setup at our station right now, because even on the days that you come in when you're not feeling it, when you just want to have a chill day, somebody else is up for something, and it kind of just keeps you in the loop. Like now, okay, well, you didn't feel like doing much today, but we're going to do a little bit of training here, a little bit of workout here, and you're back in the ball. And then the next day it's you that's on point and bringing everybody together. So it's a really good, I don't know. I like the family setting we got there. We keep each other on our toes. Yeah. Hell yeah.
So is LT is staffing usually 4 there, or is that typical, or sometimes it's 3, or?
Lately, it's just been 3 on the truck that we've been running with. We just recently had a firefighter return. We've had 4 guys on engine 5. One of my firefighters on engine 5 for most part of the year, this past year. But we had a firefighter return from deployment. So now we've been in the mornings having 8 guys show up, but then they'll send one guy out. So I've been rolling with 3 on the truck the past couple cycles.
I got you. So now that all the politically correct stuff is out of the way, what's station life really like? What's it really like in the station?
Often Eric has high levels of testosterone moments. So there's like push-up challenges and the miles and some back and forths, challenging people or keeping everybody on our toes when we should be doing something that we're not. But it's
do
good.
Have like a psychotic approach to trying to better my guys at all times. And if that comes with push-ups or pull-ups or whatever we have to do, I'm all for it. It makes me better. I'm only getting older, so I got to stay on my toes, and it makes these guys realize that it's not as fun as just sitting around watching TV all day. So I like to keep them on their toes.
Yeah, there's no TV.
If I let them just do whatever they want, then, who knows what kind of product I'll have out there. So I like to keep my guys ready to rock and roll. And I think they appreciate it, but I know a lot of guys don't appreciate it when they come to my station.
I gotcha. So, I attended the FDIC conference in Indianapolis several years ago, and there was a class that I went to, and the instructor, he made mention of in the fire service, it's the same circus, different clowns, and probably a lot of our listeners to the show have heard that, but I just that always. Out of all the things that I could have remembered from FDIC, that's the one thing I remembered is same circus, different clowns, right? So I've been thinking a lot about, as I came up through the ranks, some of the silliness that goes on, to keep us on our toes, because it can be tough. Like I said, being stuck with somebody or a whole group of people for 24 hours, the monotony can set in, And I just remember being on the engine, just doing some silly stuff. We had one guy that when his lieutenant would, he'd say, "Man, it's really cold in here." Well, he'd purposely go turn down the AC, without him knowing, or it's too loud in here, Well, the TV would all of a sudden start getting louder, and just some of the antics that go on. And I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that. As we move up the ranks, there is a certain, we need to be the grown-ups, right? But there is from time to time that, things just kind of happen and we kind of have fun and we got to have fun, especially with the seriousness of stuff we go to and go through,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually,
there's a lot of that.
Usually at our station, there's a lot of personal insults that get thrown around. Thankfully, we have a pretty thick skin, I think. But in terms of pranks currently at our station, I'm not a big fan of pranks that are physical or can cause. I just think nowadays you have to be very careful on things that you're going to get reprimanded for. And it could be something that you think is as simple as pouring water in someone's bunker boots, but then you never know. I don't like messing with people physically. So I try to stay away from that stuff, but emotionally, spiritually, you will get torn apart at our station. So have a thick skin. And Mike is probably the biggest master at doing that for everyone.
No, not. You know what's one of the things that they get me with all the time when we're cooking? This guy or any one of the other guys will cut my butter and my cheese in the ugliest shape. They won't just slice it straight, and it's the weirdest things. Almost nothing gets to me, and it's those little things that when they get me with that, I'm just.
It's the weirdest.
Yeah.
Who cares how your butter's cut? You're gonna throw it into the pot and it's gonna melt. But if it's at an angle, it drives him nuts. So I purposely cut shapes into his butter just to see him get upset. I don't get it. Yeah.
But yeah, we find I don't know, it's funny, the smallest little things that can get under people's skins, and you just, I don't know, you can slowly work your way up to getting under their skin, but just enough to where it's still
right, where it's not out of hand,
that.
Right?
Yeah, there's still enough of that brotherhood in there that none of us will step past that line, right? But
yeah,
it keeps the station alive. One of the things we had on the ambulance, we used to say your partner makes the shift, right? If you have an awesome partner, doesn't matter what you get that day, you can get bombarded with horrible calls or just slammed and get no sleep. But he had a good partner, was good, and same thing at the station. The crew makes the shift. So we have an awesome crew, and it really like I do a lot of work on the side on my days off, and when I'm there on shift, it feels like that's my day off. Like I have a good time with the guys there, so it doesn't feel like
One
work.
of
It
them-
makes
That's good.
it makes
Yeah.
the desire to come to work that much greater. Yeah.
Oh yeah, when you have a good crew, absolutely. One of the good ones that we had done to one of the new guys was we made his bed at like 8:15 in the morning and took a picture and sent it to our group. And the other lieutenant on the engine company wasn't in on the joke, and he actually thought that he made his bed at 8:15 in the morning. oh, I got a good
that
one.
that led to the bed being made everywhere.
Yeah. All over the station, on the recliner, on the desks, under sheets and a pillow. I just remembered probably one of my greatest pranks on Mike, and we talk about it to this day, and I absolutely love it. Years ago, when I was at Central as a new lieutenant, Mike was my firefighter, and I had a driver who Mike would get on his nerves constantly and very easily. And at this time, Mike was going through a phase where he was writing down like his life goals and daily goals and all that in a notebook, and he left it on the kitchen counter. So that's his fault. So I was reading his goals, and it was close to New Year's Eve, and I wrote in his little notebook to find the courage to kiss this driver. I use his first name. I won't use his first name, but find the courage to kiss him by New Year's. And I told the driver, I said, "Hey man, did you see what he wrote in his notebook?" And this was like at 10 o'clock in the morning. And this guy like flipped. He was so freaked out that all day he did all he could to avoid Mike. And it wasn't until like 11 o'clock at night, because I shared a dorm with that driver, it was just me and him, that he was still talking about it. Can you believe Mike wanted to kiss me? Like, and I was like, dude, I wrote that. I thought you knew I wrote that. And he was so mad. And he wanted to punch Mike every time Mike got close to him that day.
It was a good day.
That was a good one. That was a good one. He almost got assaulted. I was all for it.
Yeah, you guys talked about getting under the skin of people. I just recently realized that sarcasm can be hurtful. After 40 some years of living, I just realized how horrible sarcasm can be. But I think sometimes, we take ourselves a little too seriously, and we need each other to kind of bring us back down. I was reminded one time of responding to we were on the engine, and we were responding to a possible choking victim at a nursing home, and we got there, and they're escorting us down the hallway and all this stuff, and we walk in the room, and the individual's there, the victim, and the nurse is there, and she's freaking out. He looks fine, right? And so she's like, I don't know, he was just choking and this and that. And I'm like, okay, well, what was he eating? And she starts flipping through her chart. She's like, he was drinking milk. And I was like, was it chocolate or regular? And she starts flipping through her. And we're just there staring at her. And she looks up from her clipboard. And even the victim was like, ha, 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 ha. It was like in that movie Dumb and Dumber, when the guy passes eating all the peppers. Even the victim was like, ah, like just silly stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's, I think, the way to kind of get through some of those calls without just getting frustrated and not wanting to respond. You gotta make some kind of humor out of it, or else it'll just start to wear you down, and you're not going to want to.
Yeah,
those little calls like that, you're going to just start complaining and moaning and groaning, and then the time that there really is an emergency, you're not going to be prepared because you're going to think it's not anything.
Yeah.
But Mike, I know you got plenty of a prank skit.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I'm just trying to think of appropriate ones to share, to be honest. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of how not to share people's names.
We'll just use their
Yeah,
initials.
we need to protect the
Use their initials.
Or just reverse their initials. Like RV. Right? I know who you're thinking of.
We were in a staff meeting. We were in a staff meeting one time, and one of the other chiefs says, "How does your wives allow you guys to go to all these calls in the middle of the night and stuff?" And I go, "Oh, well, we married up, and just left it at that. Like, we married up. He didn't know if. Wait a minute, did he just insult me? So even at our level, it can get a little,
Little testy.
little fun.
Yeah. I don't know. I like to. I enjoy messing around with the new guys when they're coming around the trucks, or the stations, and they're checking. They're checking equipment and stuff. Like, I'll ask them, like, just if something's on the truck that doesn't even exist, right? But like, there's times that it's gotten carried away. Like, there was a time that I remember with Eric when we would go to calls, and it was like a medical, and I'd be in the back with the other firefighter, and I'd be like, "I got the thermal," and I was it'd be like this like, it made no sense, and the other guy in the back with us would look at me like, "Oh shit!" Like he was thinking, "Should I get the irons?" And then he's like, "Wait a minute, it's a medical." Right. And then that joke like stayed for shifts, like for, I don't know, months or something.
Yeah.
And then finally, like, we had a fire one day, and we go to that fire, right? And we're working and stuff. And Eric's like, "Hey, give me the thermal." And I was like, I don't have it. Like,
I blew up on them. Like, all those times you're joking about getting it off the truck, the one time we need it, you guys can't get it.
Yeah.
Horrible.
But those are the ones that, like, I can recall that backfire, because I'm over here like asking the newer guys, like, I don't know, just the most random stuff. If they like what are they called, the bunion pads? Like, I was asking one of the newer guys if we had the set of bunion pads, like, in case we need them for a patient. He was looking for them, and that just, when he asked one of the other guys, he's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" but just, I don't know. I like doing that stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's entertaining to see, like, some of the stuff, like when we got into the fire department, like the level of pranks and camaraderie that there was when we got hired, and then just a little over 10 years later, how much things have changed, and how sometimes, like, it takes a lot to build a good relationship with the guys in the firehouse to get comfortable with them. And then when you get a new guy come by, whether it's an exchange or a recruit, I think we all kind of walk on eggshells a little bit for a while, to just testing the waters to see, like, what can fly and what can't, because times are completely different now, right? So
Yeah.
it's like something a burden that you got to deal with the farther you move up the ranks, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, I think the driver's spot is a good spot, because you can kind of, you get along with both sides. Yeah. You get along with both sides of the officer and the firefighters. But once you step into the role of an officer, there's like a ton of things that you just can't say anymore, can't joke around about. And that's where, I don't know, that's where, like, I see the department changing so much, that it's the pranks and everything. Like, you gotta start changing things up and being more creative, right? To
Right.
to still have the
Yeah.
same impact, but a cleaner touch to it. So it's
Well, I mean, I like
a
to joke
challenge.
around. I like to joke around, have fun. I do. But yeah, I have to often remind myself that there's two lieutenants at that station, but we've had them filter out here and there. So in all, I mean, reality, I'm probably the top guy at that station. And so I have to remind myself that there's time, especially when there's guys that aren't from our station, that I have to behave or make sure that my guys are somewhat behaving, that it can't be taken too far. So yeah, there's a lot of responsibility you have to remember. You can't just start letting things get too far out of hand. Or you could be in a situation that has occurred where, lieutenants are putting their hands on firefighters thinking it's a joke, and then they get in trouble for it. And so, yeah, that's something that we have to always be aware of, especially when you have guys and thankfully the guys I have under me, they joke around a lot, but you can tell that they genuinely care for each other. It is sincere. We've built a very good relationship there. And so I really do thoroughly enjoy going to work with them.
Do you does your station? I mean, do you guys spend much time off duty together?
I know Mike does with some of the firefighters more because they do help him with his outside work. Not so much myself, but they do. We have hung out, outside of station, but I haven't hung out with them so much because they do have other jobs or they have family responsibilities right now that we don't get to hang out. But I think we would in a heartbeat. They all helped me move the 2 times I moved. I mean, they're all ready to help each other when we need to. So yeah, they're all good guys.
Sometimes I feel like, how they say, "Oh, it's about to get real." That's kind of how I felt coming off shift, because it's like, oh man, I got to get back to life,
Yeah.
Because sometimes being at the firehouse can be a little bit of a
Escape.
I don't know. Yeah.
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 It's
we're
kind of blessed to be able to have.
Oh yeah, at the firehouse, I'm the lieutenant who's respected and feared, and then at home, I'm the one taking orders from my wife and being ignored by my son. So I'm just like, I can't wait till I'm respected again tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same here. Yeah, same here.
Like, I have no problem having 20 and 30-something-year-old grown men listen to me like the first time I tell them. And it takes my 12-year-old son 8 times before he even cares. It's like,
yeah.
I wish I could write you up or something. I could wish to rove you to another house. You'd learn something.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely sometimes it does feel like an escape from those, I don't want to say responsibilities, but you have issues at home. Whether it's you have to fix something, maintenance, your car's having trouble, whatever. You get there and you have a job to do, and you can kind of escape it for at least that 24 hours.
I know that there was times when I would respond that it was very peaceful because you're kind of putting other people ahead of your own issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a very
you learn to forget your issues.
Yeah, and I don't know if a lot of people in the world get to experience that, but that's a really peaceful time, actually responding and helping to take care of the needs of others. I mean, hopefully it's resolved quickly and doesn't last that long, but I always I miss that part, being in an administrative role, because I don't get to do that very often,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys experience that or not.
No, it does help you appreciate a lot of things, whether it's your health or that you have family around, or just things like that. It does help you appreciate those type of things. Absolutely.
Well, cool. So when do you all start? When do you go back to work? Tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was thinking of some stuff that I've done in the past, like to keep the spirits alive and our little pranks and stuff. And like I think one of the most common ones that I can recall that I think everyone in the fire service has heard it is scaring the guys. Like somehow, right? We always get these like stories from the past of like this, we went to an accident here with someone passed away and there's a ghost in the station or a ghost in this school or something, right? And when I was first hired, like they would tell stories like that about calls they went to and stuff. And I remember like listening to them like one whole night. And then that night, like I got up like at 2, 3 in the morning. And then I went in and I was like tugging on one of the guys' blankets. And he stopped sleeping in the dorm from that point on. Even like after I told him that it was me, he was like, nah, that wasn't you, man. That was someone else. But like the 10 scary stories they told that night was enough to like convince him that it was an actual ghost tugging on his blankets. And I live in a house like full of women, so like these like little pranks that I do at work, like I can't get away with all that here at home. So
yeah.
So I take advantage when I can, slip a little barbecue sauce in someone's shampoo every once in a while.
Not anymore.
Keep it smelling good. No, that's
old pranks, right?
Yeah. No, but those are they're funny, right? And the guys like sometimes when you tell them or they find out, they appreciate the ingenuity, right? Because they're like, you got me good. Now I got to come up with a good one that's still on the same playing field, right? Which is cool.
Well, so that reminds me of the one, I wasn't there at the time, but you guys told me at 5, where there was a firefighter who was afraid of spiders. Were you part of that one? And you guys used fishing line with a fake spider on the ceiling, and when he laid down on his bed, you lowered it down onto him.
No, that wasn't.
You weren't part of that one?
That wasn't me.
And he ran out.
No.
He was like freaked out and was like terrified to go back in the dorm. Like, that's a good.
They told me one time at that particular station you guys are talking about, there's an outside door that used to, I think you can still access. Well, now there's a gate, I think, but you used to be able to access it from the outside of the dorm. And somebody was hanging out in the back of the dorm at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night reading or something. And somebody, I'm not going to say who, but he put a mask on and just opened that door in the dorm and just peeked in like with a scary mask on, and then just closed the door, ran back to his chair and sat down like nothing was happening. And the guy came out and he's like, "Hey, did you see anything?" And he's like, "No." And then he kept doing that, just going around, opening the door with that mask on, looking in, and then closing it, And then he'd run back to the day room and just he'd throw his mask off and just sit there like, what are you talking about? We used to there was a guy who no longer works with us. He works in San Antonio now, and one of the firefighters used to constantly call him at the other stations. This was before we kind of had caller ID and stuff, and he would ask for the individual, and when the individual would answer, he'd tell him basically, F you, right? And he constantly did that. Well, one time that guy was assigned to the station with that firefighter, so I did it from another station, and that firefighter looked at, he's like, "Hey," because he thought it was him, because he kept telling him, "I know it's you, I know it's you, I know it's you," and the other individual was just sitting there in the day room like, what's going on? And he's like, he didn't know there was two of us playing the prank on him, where he never knew who did it. So when he moved to San Antonio, I was like, you got to find out what station he's at and call him.
Keep it going.
Yeah.
Just keep it going. Yeah. Speaking of calling stations, there was a good one that it wasn't a prank. It was, we went to a fire, and it was a good fire. We worked for a couple hours, and they called Eric's crew to come help re-rack. And
We're telling this story.
yeah,
This was hold on. This was when I was a driver in my crew. I was a driver at this time.
but anyways, we're re-racking. Like, all the fun stuff is done. These guys are helping out, and the crew that Eric was with was re-racking a cross lay, and I was at the top of the truck re-racking 5-inch. And I'm watching these guys, and Eric wasn't there. Eric, something had happened with his truck, and
I got pulled over by a
GPS.
state trooper driving a fire.
Really?
Yeah, but
Nice.
it was there was a comm issue, and the lights were out in the back. So I was talking to a state trooper at the time while these guys were doing this to save my face from this story. Continue, Mike, please.
But anyways, I'm at the top of the truck looking down, and these guys are re-racking the cross lay, and I see that they connect the end of the cross lay that goes to the truck with the nozzle. They connect it together, and they just make a loop in the box. And I pointed out right in front of everybody, and I'm like, hey, engine 6 made a loop, engine 6. And I told my lieutenant that was on Rescue 1, and I'm like, hey, LT, the engine 6 made a loop. And then the captain's walking by, like, perfect timing, and Eric's coming into the scene. And I'm like, hey, Cap, look, it's engine 6 made a loop. And it was like the stupidest, like, third grade annoying kid, just like, look, they made a loop. They made a loop. Like, the next morning, I called all the stations, and I was telling them that engine 6 made a loop. It was so annoying. Like, even the guys at Central were like, you can let it go already, kid. But yeah, Eric didn't like me for a while after that one.
No,
But those kind of those kind of little incidents that get under your skin, those are the fun ones. It's like the third grade little insults are the ones that have like
that
the
sting,
best kids.
but they sting the most. They
Yeah.
sting the most for a lot of people, which is so weird. How the smallest insults will like hurt people's feelings. Grown men, and they'll just be so upset at the smallest little insults. But yeah, I did not like Mike for a long time after that. I was taught early in my career by a driver when I was a firefighter that you stick up for your crew, no matter what. Like, you don't like the guys on your crew, it doesn't matter. Someone else is giving them, you stick up for them. And so, I was not happy with that at all.
But
The last time I got pulled over in the truck, I was a firefighter, and a sheriff pulled us over, and he's like, "Hey, you lost your hose." And we thought, "Oh, okay." And like, we get out of the truck and we're walking around, and we lost 1,000 feet of 5-inch. Yeah, and we lost it like 2 miles back. Like, we didn't even notice we lost 1,000 feet of 5-inch. We didn't hear nothing, So, we were re-racking real quick, 1,000 feet back on the truck.
Jesus.
We thought maybe we lost a short section or something, and we go back to the hose bed, and it's completely empty, and we look down the road, and we don't see it. So we had to drive back and see how far back we found. Yeah, it was like 2 miles back.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't call anybody to make a loop.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember us telling anybody about that, as a matter of fact.
It's all open now.
Very good. It's
keep
nice.
it under wraps.
Yeah. It's good to know that kind of stuff still, the camaraderie is still alive and well in the fire stations, especially with just the way things are these days. Having to deal with different generations is a big challenge. What we're already there's already 2 generations behind us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Millennials and then what? Gen Zs? Is that the same thing?
X? No, isn't it X? I don't know. I'm not very informed with that.
I think it's X and Z, because I'm a millennial, unfortunately.
Oh,
But yeah, sorry, Chief.
there's a Y too, isn't there? I think there's a Gen Y, but they're little. They're like super little. But yeah, I guess there is just 1 generation behind, 2 generations behind us.
They're not as
behind
loud.
me, I guess. Yeah.
The one thing
But it is.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, that's the thing. Like, not just when it comes to having fun and stuff, but I mean, when I was a kid, I was taught how to change a tire on a car, or taught how to start a lawnmower or whatever. And we're finding, not everybody learns those skills when they're growing up anymore.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of guys do.
We've had guys that don't know how to change a car or disconnect a car battery. And so, yeah, you do kind of, it is strange. You kind of have to act like the father figure, depending on how young and I guess uneducated in those aspects that they are. So it's a little strange.
Yeah.
And the one way that I try to keep it, I guess, fair, because I guess that's one big thing with when you have younger people at your station, individuals, is that they're gonna be like, oh, he's treating me unfairly and all that. We try to do things that if they mess up and we're gonna get after them, we're all gonna suffer for it. We all do push-ups. We make it a point to let them know that even if they mess up, everyone's gonna suffer for it. That's the way it goes in the fire service. Because if we're at a call and you mess up, you're gonna affect everybody. So we don't try to just pick on one person like, oh, you mess up, you're going to do push-ups and we're going to go inside and you stay outside. We try to do everything that happens is as a crew. I like to tell them, everybody suffers. We all suffer together. So that's the way we try to deal with the different people that come to the station. That way they don't feel like they're being picked on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
celebrate success. You celebrate success as well as failures together, I guess is what you're saying.
Yeah.
You experience your failure, celebrate your successes together. Yeah, regardless.
Yeah.
Well, very good. I want to thank you guys for coming on the show and sharing a little bit about what station life is nowadays at your place. And I hope you guys stay safe out there. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, please let me know.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, guys.
Yes, sir. You too.
You too.
Well, that does it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen, of Justifiably Proud Productions. We want to wish everybody a happy and safe holiday season with a new year upon us, and take time to spend it with your loved ones. Hope everybody has a safe and happy holiday. Take care. Stay warm. Bye-bye.